Pakistan Supreme Court passed a historic verdict yesterday against Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf of Imran Khan, or PTI, and taking away its election symbol of cricket bat. There has been a seesaw of decision between the Election Commission and the Provincial High Court, and then leading to the Supreme Court. Election Commission banned PTI to use the cricket symbol bat, then the Peshawar High Court allowed it, then the larger bench of the Peshawar High Court again suspended that decision, and finally it came to the Supreme Court. One of the most heated and debated case, and in this instance it was actually live telecasted, which was a breath of fresh air for the Pakistani public to see what is going on. However, it has cast the shadow of doubt on the fairness of the Pakistan election 2024 and how PTI will actually come out of this fatal blow, or whether they will be able to launch all of their candidates separate to their original symbol of election. Now, I have two guests today. One of them, Raza Rumi, a very senior analyst and journalist from New York, visiting London in our studios today, and equally important, and actually at the pinnacle of his career, very famous young lawyer Syed Ahmed Hassan Shah from Pakistan, who is actually the lawyer for Akbar Babar, the founding member of PTI, who has taken PTI Imran Khan to the court, and Syed Ahmed Hassan Shah, who has won this case for him. So he will be joining us live. So please welcome my guest today, and we start with Raza Rumi. So Raza, you had a stormy tour to Pakistan, and in one of the most turbulent times in Pakistani politics, and especially in this Supreme Court's historic decision for some, and for some other people they think it's a very sad decision. What do you make up of this decision and the impact of it on the elections and on PTI?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saab, for having me, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think before I comment on this decision, there's a trend now in Pakistan which we call as judicialization of politics. So every important political matter, because of the polarization, lack of consensus, goes to the Supreme Court or High Court, and then judges are not political arbiters, they're not politicians, so they have to decide either in one party's favor or the other. So resultantly, whatever decision comes out is contested, challenged, and judges are now subject of abuse and contempt, openly, because earlier they were giving judgments in the favor of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf 5 years ago, and everything was great. And now suddenly the pendulum has reversed, and now the other side, the PMLN and the PPP, are praising the judges, while the PTI is abusing them. This particular judgment, of course, is very important, but also worrying. Important because it looks at intra-party democracy and the requirements that Pakistan's political parties must fulfill to contest elections, field candidates, so that there's some kind of rule of law. But the downside of this verdict that was given yesterday by taking away the bat symbol is that, many say millions of voters would now be confused, because in Pakistan there is low literacy level. So if they don't know the party symbol, then it might disenfranchise them, or the voting may not be as high as expected. So I think that is for me, those who want democracy to consolidate in Pakistan, this is a problematic verdict. Even though on technical merits, and I think you'll talk to the lawyers and they will explain better, it may be the right one. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting times, and we have just joined by a video link by Syed Ahmed Hassan Shah, who is the Supreme Court lawyer for Akbar Babar, who is the main complainant in this case against PTI and Imran Khan. So very warm welcome to you, Ahmed, for joining us, and to our program on election 2024 from our London studio, Quews. I'm not sure whether you are fully out of the euphoria of winning this historic case, which for some quite controversial. Would you please let us know the actual merits of the case?
Thank you, Dr. Qureshi. It's been a pleasure to be invited to your show, and thank you for the opportunity, and also for the opportunity to sit beside Raza, who is an acclaimed commentator on issues relevant to Pakistan politics. First, I would like to say that there is no personal euphoria at the outcome of this case. I was attending to a matter as a professional engaged by an old friend to represent him in this case, which I did, and I pled the case. As I understand, according to the facts relevant to his issue and the law that controls that matter. So there is no personal euphoria, but like every case that you argue before any court, the outcome does impact in a way. So in this particular case, there has been outpouring of thank yous and an equal measure of criticism that has come in. But that is the signs of a vibrant, people that we have in Pakistan. I was talking to a friend earlier and saying that Pakistanis are not like some of our global citizens who do not have an opinion on nothing, or we want to talk about everything that we can. So it's fine. We are a thinking nation in that way. So it's fine. Now, as to the case, I will talk to you in two respects, depending on what you ask me. One, I will try and respond as counsel to Akbar Babar. And where I feel that the answer requires a personal opinion, I will clarify and give you a comment as a citizen of Pakistan. Not necessarily, but I want to make it very clear that personally, I have no affiliation with any political party in Pakistan. I am not a member of any political party. So I will be at a loss to propagate any particular view of any political party. I can just share my citizen's view. So what is this case about? Akbar Babar in this case had the grievance that he wanted to go and get some nomination papers, and he wanted to draw up a panel of people and have a chance and a go, let's say, at the intra-party elections. Now, everyone has been following this intra-party matter. This has been going on for a couple of years now. What I want to make clear here for the audience is that Akbar Babar's interface with the party is of three kinds. One, his long history from the days that he was founding member up to the time that he had an inter-dispute. I don't know what happened. I was not in the picture, so I'm not the right person to ask questions on that phase. When he had a first dispute with the party regarding finances in the party, which was later on termed as the case for foreign funding and so on. So my interface has been since 2014 onwards. So about mid-2014, he came to me with that case. We reviewed the documents, and then I suggested to him a way forward in terms of legal process, and that's how the foreign funding case started. So that went on until last year, and then that closed for a moment because it culminated into a report by the commission that yes, there was a violation, funds from sources prohibited under law were received and they had to be confiscated. And then I dissociated again, and then this third phase begins when the party, since 2021 it appears, has been in a situation where it's been unable to hold an intra-party election. So Akbar Babar did not get me involved in this until after the first election was set aside by the election commission, and they complied with the order, or they proceeded to comply with the order by holding the election second time. So historically, towards the end of October, November, there is an order that says that you must hold your intra-party elections afresh within 20 days. And if you do not do that, we've already advised you that the consequence could be that you might not get or obtain a symbol. Your eligibility may be at issue. So that is my involvement. This is a timeline. So what happened when I got involved in this case? I've seen there's been an overlap on the two cases. It's natural to make that overlap. But legally speaking, they are two distinct cases. So what happens is when the ECP, which is the Election Commission of Pakistan, directs the party to hold intra-party elections afresh within 20 days, the leadership of the party sits for a couple of days and then suddenly decides on around 30th of November to hold an election on the 2nd of December. They issue a schedule and it's a very tight spaced schedule. So Akbar goes to the office in Islamabad with a group of his colleagues, fellow members of the party, to get acquainted with what is the process, get hold of the papers, whatever nomination papers and the rules and regulations that are required. There, what he does, surprisingly, is that he has people with him who record the whole visit. And there he finds out that there is no document for him to procure. There is no nomination paper. The staff.
This was on 30th November. You mentioned this was on 30th November.
This is on the 1st.
1st of December.
The announcement happens on and so he goes on the 1st, which is the date you have to file nomination or get nomination papers. So he goes there in time and he records it, and he turns back because there's nothing for him to obtain from there, and there are other people sitting there. So what he does is he comes back and he files a complaint to the Election Commission. And he says that I wanted to participate in this election. I have not been allowed to do that. And from what I can make of it, this is a sham exercise. So this he does on his own. Practically, I am not involved at this stage. So after he's filed the complaint, then he gets in touch with me because I was not available those days. I was traveling. So then he gets in touch with me and says that I filed a complaint, so I need you to represent me. I said, all right. So since then, it has been a very sort of a fast-paced interaction. We present his case to the Election Commission. The Election Commission wants to know what evidence we have. So he shares the video evidence. There are other people who are present there. They also become complainants. They file. Each of them is a member. And the Election Commission looks at the evidence, satisfies itself and passes the order. But what the party does again is, as far as Akbar Babar is concerned, the party says that he is not our member. We've turned him out long time ago. So we go over this debate all over again. I've been over this debate in the foreign funding case and won it, this point for him way back in 2018 when, the Election Commission, then the Islamabad High Court held that, he is a member. He was relieved of his offices at the party, but he still is a member. So despite that finding, the party says, no, you're not a member. We don't recognize you as one, so you cannot participate. So we go over that exercise again. I am able to convince the commission and remind the commission of its own previous orders and the order of the High Court that he is a member, he's a declared member, has not been expelled. So we overcome that obstacle. Again, what happens is that when the order comes, and in between, the party chooses to litigate at two high courts. Some of its members go to Peshawar High Court, some of them go to Lahore High Court. Same matter, same issues regarding inter-party start getting agitated.
And
at the instance of the party.
Sorry, Ahmed, when was it the party went to High Court?
This is the period between the 22nd of December to up till now. So this is a very short time that we're talking about. Because remember, the Election Commission's order or the proceedings start as far as this matter is concerned after the order came in. So there is a set of litigation that immediately precedes it. But what we're talking about here is between, let's say, November to January. These 30-40 days on a larger.
So the case went a very, very fast track. That's really surprising.
Election matter, yeah.
From the Election Commission to where it is
now.
No,
Doctor, yes, Doctor, it is not uncommon for election-related matters to be fast-paced.
Okay.
This is not typically an election matter, but you would know, if you've been covering these things, that elections are supposed to be held according to a prescribed finite schedule. And that process has an inbuilt mechanism for people to object to nominators, nominees, candidates, and resolve disputes at various stages. So there are specialized tribunals that are set up, courts are identified. So in election matters, things go fast.
Okay. Okay. That's a
So
fair point.
the proverbial decadence of the Pakistani justice system in terms of taking long time and so on, that doesn't apply to election. That's a 100-meter race. So in that context, but intra-party, like I said, is not an election matter in that sense. But nevertheless, the urgency is created because the election is already announced. And we have little time, and run up to the election requires a lot of things. And one important thing is of a party getting a symbol. So, as I explained to the court on the first day, the focus of the party has been on obtaining the symbol. But legally speaking, the consequences for a political party for not having an inter-party election under law are three. One is that if you do not hold intra-party elections, the Election Commission will not register you as a political party. What they call in the election laws, enlistment of a party. The second consequence is that if you do not hold these elections, you may be fined for not holding them. And the third, the most serious of the consequences is that if you don't do that, then your eligibility to apply and obtain a symbol does not arise.
Is there any
knows that right.
precedence? Sorry, Ahmed, to interjecting. Is there any precedence to these kind of actions by the Election Commission? Because that is the most important question here.
Yes, in the past, I can remember twice that parties have had to suffer on account of symbol. Those are not necessarily, very great or very, positive-oriented precedents, but there is a precedent. There is a power. There is a procedure. What was important in this case from my side as Akbar's lawyer was to demonstrate that the law says that every member of a party has the right to avail of the equal opportunity to contest an intra-party election. And that cannot be denied to him. So the point that I emphasized before the court was that Article 17, which is recognized as the fundamental right of association of people to form political parties, it has another fundamental right built into it. And that fundamental right is of each one of Pakistanis to join a political party of their choosing. So today, if you and I want to join party X or party Y, the people in charge of that party cannot say, Raza, we don't like you. Dr. Qureshi, you are ABC. Ahmed, go to hell. It is my fundamental right to join a political party of my choosing. Now, once I do that, the law says, the constitution says that this right cannot be taken away except in accordance with law. So if you and I decide sitting in our living rooms to make rules for how to oust each other, that is not law of the country. That is what we may want to do.
Yeah, I will. No, thank you very much for explaining that. I think I'll bring another matter to this. That yes, there is a principle of proportionality, because all Pakistani elections, they're always marred by one controversy or another, and at least one, if not more, parties feel they are on the wrong side of the wrong end of the stick, basically, which PTI finds, although they were quite happy in the past when they were on the driving seat. I mean, that is like a seesaw or a musical chairs, I would say. But where 70% of people cannot read or write, cannot actually understand what the election process or the voting or balloting process is, and the only thing they know for the last 25 years is a symbol of this election is a bat. So don't you think that the principle of proportionality was actually breached there? there could have been some other punishments rather than taking rather draconianically the symbol of bat from PTI?
Okay, now this is a question which I need to respond with shifting hats, as I mentioned earlier. First, I'll respond it in the context of Akbar Babar's case, and then as a citizen. Now, as far as Akbar's case is concerned, the issue is that in this particular case for the party, this is not a case where this thing happened overnight. The election issue has been pending since at least 2.5 years or more. The party has had a go at the elections. The party has been made aware for over 2 years, perhaps, or more, that if you don't do that, the consequence could be losing your eligibility to apply for a symbol. So this has not come as a surprise to them. So the doctrine or the question of proportionality cannot be looked at into isolation. If you are aware, Dr. Saab, that if you will not move 4 spaces on the right and a ton of bricks will fall in your head, you can't then complain that I was not told that the bricks are coming down and I've been crushed or I've been hurt. You knew that this is going to happen if you do not do ABC. So why did you let that happen? Now, so that is a legal context of a debate. Now coming to my citizenship hat. As a citizen of Pakistan, I do recognize and I agree with you that a country like ours, and ours is not the only country, there are several other countries like that. So there is an identification of a symbol. That is the reason we have a symbol. So, and people do associate this with a symbol, and there is a sense, and there is also a case law to the point, which suggests that this right has a deep association with the symbol. And the symbols are not taken away lightly. Now, in this particular case, as a citizen, I cannot possibly deny that there is no consequence of a party shifting symbols. But the question as a citizen, as an objective citizen, I must ask that did a third force bring it upon them? Or they were negligent or unmindful and unprepared, or of their own follies brought it upon themselves?
Yeah.
So as a responsible citizen, I must make that,
Let me ask Raza to come in here, who've been sitting here very patiently.
No. I'm enjoying Ahmed's
Raza, please go ahead.
description. No, I think Ahmed's view as a citizen, that's my concern too, Dr. Saab. Depriving so many people of that identification and would obviously undermine the electoral process. But I think what Ahmed I wanted to respond to the idea of, he used 2 terms, negligent or unmindful. And the thing is that, let me put this on record, Dr. Suhail, that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf for more than a decade or so has been getting away with all sorts of oversights and unmindful acts or acts of commission and omission, because Pakistan's establishment was fully backing this party. Since 2011 particularly, but even before, there have been 4 ISI chiefs who have been involved in not only pushing the narrative of this party, but also bringing Mr. Imran Khan to power. Similarly, 4 chief justices since that time have been giving relief. Take the case of foreign funding. It took them 10 years the election, because the case never moved an inch, because obviously from the top, from the hidden forces, the message was, don't touch this case. He's our man, he's our future, he's our savior. And that whole idea has now penetrated the psyche, collective psyche of Pakistanis at home and abroad. Then similarly, this case of, they thought that they'll do this mock election and get away, because, earlier courts have not asked them, Election Commission has not asked them. But this time they have a Supreme Court which is not a pro-Imran Supreme Court. I don't think that Justice Qazi Faizisa is biased at all. He is not biased in favor of any party because he has an independent mind, and his whole record, his whole career testifies to that. So this time it was a unique moment for this party to find institutions of state either backing away from him or, in some cases, those who cannot be named, hostile to him.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a very, very Orwellian control, basically,
Yeah.
more like a circus. And I will ask here, Sayyid Ahmed Hassan Shah, according to the World Justice record, Pakistan is at number 130 out of 142 countries in 2023, and it was number 98 in 2015-16. So it has gone almost 32 points, which is amazing. There are only a handful, 12 countries below us, and even India is at 98 in 2023, and they have made a massive strides. United Kingdom is at number 15, so that means Pakistan is about 10 times worse than United Kingdom, and probably 130 times worse than the top Denmark. Now, considering the influence of the establishment and such a wrong and draconian decision of the judiciary, especially Supreme Court, where do you think that this particular decision, which will deprive millions, actually hundreds of million people of their fundamental right, where will it go in the annals of history, within the country, in Pakistan, and internationally?
There's a lot of biage in that question that I may not personally agree with, but I will not take issue with that. But let me say that this is a decision that can have an impact, positive or negative. If this decision becomes a foundation of encouraging parties to ensure participation of their voter base, their involvement into party affairs, and it translates into a broader representative party arrangement, it will go in history as a positive step. Now, unlike many of the people who are hurt by this decision, who will call this draconian and all that, there is a possibility for us to regroup and recognize that the finest amongst ourselves are eventually human beings, and we all make mistakes. And this party has actually made a mistake. And it should not have done what it has done with the internal party mechanisms. So let this be a lesson, and instead of agitating it and bringing the house down on a country-wide perspective, let us regroup, reorganize, and ensure that a citizen who is far off, for example, I did not argue it yesterday, but if I were to argue as a citizen, it hurts me to find out that I have to pay 50,000 rupees in order to get an office in a political party that I'm willing to, invest my blood and sweat into it. Must I pay 50,000? Does that appease your conscience? It doesn't, as far as I'm concerned. So these are the things that are extremely, annoying to me as a citizen. If I am a voter, if I am a participator, contributor, worker, I should have an equal right to compete for the office without a deposit. How many people have a savings of 50,000 to spend? The voters that we're talking about, the so-called, the so-called disenfranchised. Raza, you tell me, Raza.
Yeah, Raza.
So how many of these disenfranchised? So yes, I am getting a bit emotional on this because I am a citizen of this country, and yes, it hurts me that the justice system is not the best, or let's say it's closer to the worst. But it hurts me. But this reminds me many years ago when I was a younger student, and I applied to Her Majesty's government for achieving scholarship. And I remember one of the British, diplomats asked me a question in my interview. He said, "Well, the Pakistani education system is rotten. You are running away from it." And I remember I was in my early 20s, and I said him spontaneously, "But I'm a product of the system. Don't make me sit here and complain about it and give you cause to further criticize it. It is my desire, it is my wish, and it is my effort that I must remain within the system and improve the system for myself and those I leave behind." So that is the spirit that I would like as a citizen, and the benefit to come to everyone.
Certainly. I'll draw your attention and Raza's attention the doctrine of proportionality, and especially in the context of what's happening to PTI, because this is not the normal atmosphere. This is not a Westminster democracy. We must know.
Sir, I will interject.
Sure.
On your doctrine of proportionality. Look, Ahmed obviously is a very careful, responsible legal professional. He doesn't want to cross a line because he has to appear before the courts. He's watched very intently. Look, Dr. Saab, on 9th of May 2023. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and Imran Khan, after he was arrested, they went out and set ablaze military installations. His workers, his supporters, for right or wrong reasons, whether they were misled or whether they genuinely believed, thought that they would be able to overcome the might of Pakistan army and the state by protesting, demonstrating, and resorting to acts of violence. Initially, Mr. Khan owned up to these incidents. Now he just wrote recently in The Economist that it was a false flag operation. Now, when you do this in a country like Pakistan, looking at its history and the role that the army has played in the 75 years long turbulent history, this is a suicidal path. Because you must only do it if you have some kind of certainty that you would overcome and crush this age-old colonial power dominant structure. Since then, the lines have been drawn clear by the Pakistan's military establishment versus PTI. You have seen that Imran Khan remains in jail, his party has been decimated, his workers are being demotivated, and in this current context, whether this Election Commission of Pakistan decision came on merits, on technical grounds, it all fits into the larger theme of the state not letting the PTI and Imran Khan have what we call a open field. They are being taught a lesson. That's how I view it, because it is not the first time the Pakistan People's Party was taught a lesson. Nawaz Sharif was taught a lesson thrice, and now it's Imran Khan's turn. It's very unfortunate. I don't support it. I oppose it. I want it to change. But this is precisely what is happening in Pakistan at the moment. And if Mr. Imran Khan had any political acumen, he would have at least condemned what happened on 9th of May. On the 10th, he appeared in the Supreme Court of Pakistan when the then Chief Justice said, "Good to see you," quote unquote, very famous lines, gave him asked his staff to bring a Mercedes for him and gave him a royal sort of treatment. He could have just said, "I really condemn these acts of violence. These were not my workers, and if some emotional workers have done it, I will reprimand them and take action against them." At least half of these problems would have subsided. But he did not, because he is a person who is driven by his real and imagined power, his charisma, his narcissism, and he thought that the institution would revolt in his favor. They would oust the army chief Asim Munir because the middle level officers and the junior officers and some seniors love Imran Khan so much and their families love them so much. But look, this is not how the real world works. Army's institutional and corporate interests dominate their liking or disliking for a politician or a celebrity, and that's what we are seeing. It's terrible. And
thank you, Raza. I think I am touched by a very deeply and emotion-laden opinion, and really I could see that there's a deep emotive power that you have brought up to the surface. But we'll leave that for another day, because today we want to benefit from the very august company of Sayyid Ahmed Hassan Shah, who has been a very successful lawyer all in all, and he's also the lawyer for Akbar Babar for the foreign funding case, and who has won this case yesterday. And I just want to get back to Ahmed more on a legal lacunae of this, because this is a judgment by three people. There is a voice from a quarter that the Chief Justice Faiz Isa, he had a bone, so to say, with the PTI, because the PTI actually filed a judicial reference against him. Don't you think it would have been better had he not been in this panel?
Well, again, in Pakistan, unfortunately, we see that there are objections to the formation of benches always, and people are not shy now of making those objections. In this case, no such objection was made and heard during the proceedings by any of the council. So if there is a recognition of this sentiment within the legal team of the party, it was not raised. And you and I have seen in cases where council have come forward and said so. So if there is that sentiment, then this was a decision for the party to make. Had the party made that call, then we would have been at a situation where we would be putting to test, so to say, whether he should or should not have had. They had notice, they participated, they fully, went full blown into this. And there have been cases, I don't want to go into this, but do you not recall cases which were favorably decided from a party perspective before? So this tendency to approve, allow me to just quickly finish.
Sure.
This tendency to approve of individuals holding office because they either give a decision which we like or which we don't like, and we associate them with others and blame others for this. This needs to discontinue. Yes, if there is evidence, if there is reasonable basis that you can establish, then yes, the law says that you proceed against the individual as you should. And nobody stops you from doing that. Yeah. This particular party has done it before. It could do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I can but not note that the judicial system of Pakistan in general, and even the Supreme Court, is mad with so many, black blotches. You just start from the Iftikhar Chaudhry, then you had Saqib Nisar, then you have Justice Bandial, and now Mr. Faiz Isa. And I wonder that these are the people who are at the pinnacle of justice system, and as soon as they descend from that august pedestal, there are all kinds of insults are hurled upon them. So one wonders what's going on. So what is stopping people judging Faiz Isa as soon as he comes off and making all kinds of accusation against him? So why can't we, as a judicial system, have a really absolutely fair kind of a justice system like Justice Durab Patel, say, for example? Why can't we have example like that?
Yes, why can't we? But let me give you a controversial response to this, so that there is it encourages a discussion. The names that you took are not the first ones on the list if you were to make a list of that kind. This goes back
latest
70s.
History, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So nobody will ever argue that the judiciary as an institution, and Raza pointed this out in his opening statement, it has had a checkered history. Now, the question arises that do we only recognize it when we are on the receiving end? And we are happy to accept and enjoy the benefits of it when we are the beneficiaries of it. So intellectual honesty is a measure that must be brought into this debate.
Yes.
what I feel is bad for me is bad for the other. What I feel is good for me must be good for the other. So in this whole debate, and here, this is where there is a disagreement of sorts, because our political parties, they do not take a position of principle on these matters. They would rather see another political party go down than to stand by and say, well, okay, I oppose you, I do not agree with you, your ethos is different, your politics is different, but here is a fundamental principle point that we must stand together.
Yes.
This is a failing on your part and on my part as people who have elected those who represent us. We should hold them to account for not conducting themselves at this higher standard before, in my view, we go on and start stigmatizing everybody left, right, and center. So this aside, and now that we are, two of you are in the jurisdiction of the Crown. Let me
luckily,
let me also
say.
let me suggest to you the following. I am no expert on English law and precedent, but I have had a little exposure. Tell me, how many times has the Crown Court favored the Crown over the history of England? Remind me also, based on two possible interpretations before a Crown Court at the ultimate level. And one is a interpretation that favors the polity and the continuity and the existence of the Crown. And the other, though favorable to the populace, does not. Which of the two, in your view, the Crown Court will adopt?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. As you know, this is a centuries-old struggle between the nobility, clergy, and the populace, and obviously there is lots of case laws. But I think you have really hit it on the nail. Basically, if any country has to progress, there has to be a rule of law. There has to be absolute respect to that, and people who are actually doing justice, they must adopt the absolute honesty, integrity, and probity, and the ethical and moral compass must be on the right way. I'll bring Raza into the discussion, and then probably just a couple of more minutes. Ahmed, you've been fantastic, and I can see with the many of your hats that you are juggling, and some that we don't know. There is a politician in situ, I can tell you that.
Oh,
yeah?
oh
so
my God.
My words. Yeah. Raza, you have you yourself have been actually to the wrong end of the stick at some time, and you kind of found a refuge in New York now because of whatever happened. What do you think of this? Does this taking the symbol from PTI? Do you think it resonate the same thing what happened to NAP, Muslim League, People's Party, and MQM in the hands of the establishment?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Saab, because I mean, we have to, of course, these legal, technical debates can go on, and they're important. I'm not undermining them, but at the heart of the matter is that this is what is happening. The PTI is now at the wrong end of the establishment stick. When the army chiefs hold a stick, you can see the pictures. The wrong side is the PTI, and that's the truth. I mean that's what is happening. It's not happening for the first time. It should not happen to PTI. I'm not justifying that or saying that as some PTI people think that I do. Not at all. But this is the centrality of this question. Now, I'll tell you, when in the 1980s, I remember when I was growing up and I was, learning about politics and what was happening, the Pakistan People's Party's electoral symbol was a sword, talwar. And I remember that being taken away from them by the then authorities, and then they were given tir, the arrow, which is now their current symbol. It took many decades for them to get the sword back. Similarly, the Nawaz Sharif, his electoral symbol was bicycle, which was Pakistan Muslim League Jonejo symbol, and that was also taken away, and that's how he got the sher or the lion. as his new electoral symbol in the 90s. Now, both these things have happened to parties in the past, and I'll tell you that they did not really have much of the PPP never had any relief. In fact, when Benazir Bhutto came back to Pakistan in 1986 from London and contested the 88 elections, the government put the restriction of having an ID card to vote. It was not there before, and now, as we were talking about literacy and poverty, at that time most poor people did not have ID cards, and the PPP was the party of the poor. So there was a disenfranchisement underway, and PPP never got a relief. At least here the PTI went to Peshawar High Court, got a verdict in its favor. Then it went to, it has been getting, and there's been a process. Now, of course, these parties have tremendously suffered and gone through the mill. So whatever is happening now, I think the PTI would have to now rethink its politics in entirety. It would have to work with civilian forces, not look towards the establishment to favor or get the party back into power, but it should come back with the power of the people, of its supporters, in Pakistan, in overseas, the goodwill that Imran Khan enjoys, especially among the young people. That should be his power, not a judge, not a general, not a tycoon. That's all I will add.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raza. I think that really says it all, and there has to be a message of hope for Pakistanis, and especially young Pakistanis who have decades and generations to come to bring them prosperity. Pakistan is a huge country, almost 250 million people, and also, more importantly, there's a lot of hard-working, talented people, and only the political stability and the democracy can bring the peace and progress. So thank you very much to both of you. Ahmed, thank you very much. It was lovely to have you here, and I have to congratulate you on your success, although for some it's controversial. And I'm sure. And Raza, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
I add if you have a minute, Dr. Saab.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, please go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to, on expectations, because I wanted to say that, and I didn't earlier, but I think I should. I was talking to one of your colleagues yesterday, and he asked me a similar question. Mm-hmm. And I said to him that when you talked about the various people and the incumbent chief, I said a responsible and objective assessment warrants that we look at our current media opinion leaders as well. Raza, you included. Mm-hmm. Don't we together, or don't you all, raise the bar of expectation from individuals so high that there is imminent disappointment? So I was reminded of this. Phrase, or whatever you want to call it, that men do not appear to be dwarfs if they are not made to look like giants. Yes. So it is for you people, the opinion makers, to have a reasonable expectation. I'm not saying compromise on the principles, but do not falsify the expectation and associate it with an individual. The institutions matter. The country will be rebuilt on these institutions. So let's not trash them one by one.
Yes, absolutely. And very rightly said, probably from the Aesop fables, but very well said. And thank you very, very much once again to both of you, Ahmed and Raza. Right, so you heard a very fiery kind of debate, which actually started from the Supreme Court's verdict yesterday, taking the election symbol of bat from PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf in Pakistan, which went in a meandering way to 9th May, and very, very strong statements by a couple of our guests today, which we do not agree fully, but we definitely give a platform to everybody for their freedom of opinion and free speech, as long as it is within the realm of decency and law. So with that, I wish all of you a very happy evening tonight from our London studios at Quews.news.